This is my first time in this group, so I don't particularly know the protocol or whatever, but I understand we're showing side by side parallel views. That's what I have, and I presume everybody has a handheld viewer that they're going to hold up to their face while they look at these, which I find a little awkward myself because you have to adjust it. And also, when I do this on my screen, not all these pictures are exactly the same format. Some are 16 by 9, some are 3 by 4. And so maybe we have to move our face closer or further or whatever, but that's all left up to you individuals and how you see them. But maybe I shouldn't whip through them so quickly before you get adjusted and can see them in 3D. So I guess I'll share my screen now. I have about 40 images. I also don't, of course, have any sense at all from this audience how familiar you are with artificial intelligence image generating, and it's a little bit controversial. There's many people who hate it, and I sort of understand that. I'm sympathetic to that. My theory about this is that if you're making them yourself, it's a hell of a lot of fun. If you're looking at somebody else's that they made, it's boring and you think a computer made that, you can't take credit for that. I sort of agree with that position too. I didn't make these images. I really didn't. I promise you I didn't. Where's my screen? But the computer continually blows me away with what it comes up with and the kind of training it's had. So these are created with verbal prompts, text prompts, and I can't quote you exactly each of these prompts for these images. Maybe that's something I should have prepared ahead of time. The prompts tend to get lost in the process unless you save them. But this would have been something like, oh, a Victorian era sitting parlor with a table in the foreground with some 19th century objects. I probably didn't get more specific. And then I used the word stereopticon, stereoscope over and over again. I've been eternally frustrated having it can't really show me a stereo camera and it can't show me a stereoscope or any of these devices. Somehow it's not trained on that. I think it's trained on TikTok and YouTube and things like that. Maybe you don't see so many stereopticons. So I would say, Victorian era optical device. I would throw in the word stereo and look what it did. It made something with 4 lenses. And, it's anyway, it's more just a wonder of what it comes up with. And mostly these are delightful surprises based on the prompts that I wrote to create them. And there's, so this would have been, a 3-dimensional stereoscope owl viewer. And I threw the word owl in quite often. It seems to have put an owl in the background, in the painting in the background, or something that's weirdly like a bird man thing. I don't know. Anyway, they're just eternally surprising to me, the results that it comes up with. They're by no means anything practical or workable or nothing that could be, a real viewer, but they're just really funny. What do they call them? Mashups? This is a mashup between an owl and an optical device. And I guess in this case, stereo, it made 2 of them. So we ended up with 4 lenses. And why it threw a top hat on there, I don't know. Maybe the word Victorian. I didn't ask for a top hat. This one, it seems to put little trumpets on top of the lenses or something. I don't know. The conversion to stereo was all done with another AI tool, previously LieaPix, now Luminosity. I made these in 2023
Hmm.
and as 2D images. And it wasn't until recently that I brought them into LieaPix, and it did surprisingly good job at making depth maps for these and converting them into 3D. In some cases, of course, I had to go in and correct things. Some cases I didn't. You'll see weird stereo errors. Sometimes some of these I corrected, some of them I haven't. Um, I was really surprised by this one. Again, I'm juggling different words. So one of the words I threw in here was scrimshaw. And if y'all know what scrimshaw is, it's what 19th century sailors would do on sailing ships and whaling ships to keep themselves amused. They would scratch into tusks, ivory, basically. I probably used the word ivory and scrimshaw, and it came up with that. Uh, Decided to sort of make a face out of this one. Um, Somehow reminds me a little bit of Tweedledee and Tweedledum from Alice in Wonderland. I don't know. This one completely surprised me. Um, Sometimes you get a surprising image like this, and then you make up a backstory after you see the image. So I decided that this is the Charles Darwin teaching machine, and that you look through the two lenses and you push a button and you can hear Charles Darwin reading The Origin of Species or something. I have no idea how it managed to come up with that little guy in the middle, but I think it's the Charles Darwin teaching device or something. Or you're all muted, so I can't hear from you, but hopefully you're seeing these okay with your handheld viewers. Looking
Yes,
good. I see a thumbs
it's
up
all
there
great.
from
Yeah.
Dennis. Okay, working. And there's another thumbs up from Carlton. They're working. Okay, good. This one put a few little miniature paintings in there, little 19th century miniature oil paintings. I love that. I don't know how it would work. Oh, here I'm playing around. I'm probably changing some of the prompt words, and I'm asking for a still life, a classic oil painting, tabletop, tableau. I use the word tableau, still life. I may have said grapes and candle and persimmon. I think I called for those, and so you can see all those in the picture, and the rest it just makes up. Um, But I mean, what a weird optical device. Look at the four buttons on top. It's like a trumpet or something. You could play it like an instrument. Um, but this has more of that painterly look of a classic still life. Here's another owl, another probably ivory. I don't see any scrimshaw per se in this, but uh, we'll never know what it was thinking, you know, to put an owl coming out the side like that with nice glass eyes. Look at those eyes. Um, I may have thrown the word pumpkin into this one, or I did put the word wedgewood or hardwood or something. I think I described maplewood. I put in the word maplewood. So it made one out of wood. Uh, and then it just started throwing owls in there. So I guess if you bring your face up to that one, you've got an owl in each eye. It's got a little brass plaque on there with nothing that's decipherable. And why not some dried leaves, you know? Another still life. No viewer in here. It just put in an owl. And some lovely books in the background. Wouldn't you love to read those? They have great spines on them. Just think of what it must have been trained on to do these images. And again, I don't think you can read the titles of those books if you try. But if you don't try, they look like real books. More books. I like this one. How's the 3D on that one? Very 3D. So here's another pair of pairs on a book. Probably use the word diorama in here. So it's starting to make a little partial landscape, a hybrid landscape. Looks like stalagmites or something. And maybe the fact that it said 3D, it said, oh, it picked up on the 3 and gave, 3 optical. Okay, we'll give them 3 lenses. So it made 3 lenses. That's a weird hybrid of, I don't know, luggage, a carrying case, a makeup box, occupied by owls, and some baby owls. Again, the maple leaf is a nice touch. I love the glass case in the back there. It's brass locks. I think there's some scrimshaw on the shelves in the back there. There's things in the foreground, they aren't even things. They look like things until you start looking at them, and then they're like not anything. But they sure look convincing, Here's kind of a terrarium approach. Who knows what that is? Or that thing in the back looks like a hookah or something. Maybe it's a espresso maker.
Or a DIY owl kit.
Yeah, do-it-yourself owl.
Build your own one.
Yeah, make your own viewer. Start with the owl, and here's the parts. Make a viewer. Oh, I love this. I'm not sure. I have to look at this 3D. Is that? Yeah, it did a pretty good job with the mirror. I'm looking at this in 3D. It figured out that there was a mirror there, and it put a reflection in the back and gave it depth. Credit to the algorithm that figured out the depth map. It's getting pretty smart. But I mean, this thing could make music as easily as it could make a picture. I think, well, it's like a calliope or something, a crazy musical instrument. A strange pair of glasses in the foreground. Some very funny owl designs. Again, 3 lenses, one for each D. There. So that's a interesting kind of riff on the same thing. Sometimes it'll do that. It'll just make something that's similar to the one before it with variations. I don't know, are those grapes in the foreground or caviar? I don't know. Little tapestry in the background, keeping with the Victorian theme. I don't know what this little guy is. Little Stanley Livingston with his pith helmet. An etching. Who knows? Oh, this one I was impressed with. Yeah, I was using the word pheasant and peacock. So I made a hybrid between a pheasant, a peacock, and a sewing machine, I think. But it all looks very authentic to the period, whatever the heck it is. Certainly got that feel of antique. There's a little owl portrait with a lemon. Here's your more classic still life tableau. Apples, persimmons. There should be a dead bird in there. From coming back from the hunt, maybe a dead pheasant or a rabbit. That was often, forgot to prompt for that. And a few lenses thrown in. I think there's pickled something in that jar. This one I had fun with. I did quite a bit of Photoshop work on this. I repainted the depth map pretty extensively, spent a few hours on this. And so I gave relief to the background, that oval in the background, that needed work. So a lot of the organic stuff you see on the right, like the tree branch on the right, I repainted the depth map for that. It's either a tree branch or its roots, or it looks a lot like a dried up psilocybin mushroom, actually, on the right. And then the eye that you see through the little hole, I added that in Photoshop. In fact, I lifted it from the owl on the left and flipped it and put it in the hole. I think it just gave me a black hole. There was nothing in that. So I figured, oh, that's got to have something in depth. So I put the owl looking at itself through the, and I had to do quite a bit of touch up on the jewel box and all those little turquoise marbles and pearls and things. This depth map again was made a while ago. I think if I ran it through Luminosity now, it might do a better job of handling the depth map, but this had a lot of hand work on it. I'm very proud of it. Thank you. Here's carrying on our turquoise theme. I don't see a viewer in there, but we got 3 owls in a box. Oh, we saw this one, I think. That's a repeat. Oh, and the last handful of images here bring us a little bit into the 20th century, I guess. Bakelite. Yeah, I was changing eras here. So the last few are going to be, oh, David Starkman, by the way, gave me the names of some interesting designers, product designers. Vaso, Starkman, are you here? Do you remember? It was Velasco or something. Anyway, he's a famous Art Deco designer. And so I started throwing these names in of these Art Deco designers. And
Norman Bel Geddes and
Geddes, thank you.
I forget, there's several other Art Deco industrial designers.
Art Deco designers, yeah.
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 And Raymond Loewy, another famous one.
That's right, Loewy. Loewy did the, I think it gave me these wonderful chrome New York turnstiles. I think that'll be next.
Well, they designed products, but Raymond Loewy also designed the Studebaker with the bullet nose, and I think the Kodak, one of the little Kodak brownies that's very Art Deco. I forget the name of it.
Okay.
And maybe the Bantam Special.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if I do another show, I'll do one on those Art Deco designs. I have a bunch of crazy machines like that. Calling up those names, Geddes and whoever you just mentioned. Yeah.
Raymond Loewy.
Yeah. Loewy. And I love the color scheme here. I probably called for that, pink and turquoise or something. Yeah, so there's, see, I used the word bakelite and it tried to write the word, oh yeah. So you can almost see my prompt in there, bakelite, masonite, stereoscopic viewer.
What's with the number? What is it, 5702 or something?
702, yeah. I don't think I prompted for that. Oh, Norman, you can see the name under the left lens, Norman Geddes or Betters or something, right?
I see Geddes, but it's something else in front of his.
Geddes on the right, and on the left, it's Norman.
Yeah.
But it messes up type. It's getting better. Again, I made these in 2023. But it almost got the word stereoscopic. It's stereoscopic viewer. And it's got
finally got it to 2 lenses.
Yeah, it's got 2 lenses. They're really close together. And some lovely colored plastic. Yeah. Now we're switching the last 3 images here are in here because they're fun and they're Victorian. So I called for an outdoor patio, Victorian era tea party in a sun-splashed Victorian era patio, women having tea with giraffes. And it gave me this. Is that too big? That's
No.
my screen. That's larger than the others. Is that working for everyone?
Yeah,
Thumbs
Yep.
up? Okay, that works. All right.
yeah.
All right, and we have one more giraffe picture here, this one. And I think that's one last image, is it? Yeah. There we go. So that's our show, boys and girls. Thank you for your attention. Looks like we've just come to the top of the hour. Let's stop sharing.